we are community beings. We want to be a part of something. We want to belong to something. And I think that is even more important online. Building the habit is the hard part. The goal of what skill you practice is the easy part. It has to be educational, has to be entertaining, and it has to be my personality. Everything is perfect on social media. Everything we post is perfect. Everyone's life is perfect. And all the time, I don't want you to send me your perfect shots. I want you to send me three minutes of your session so I can see them making mistakes. People forget that that's the best way to learn, is making those mistakes.
Welcome to Coaching Culture, the podcast about cultivating culture and leadership. I'm Ben Herring and I've been loving this side of the game for bloody ages. Today's guest is Ben John. Now, Ben is an ex-pro player for Ospreys in Wales who played 79 games at centre. These days, he is the world's biggest online coach. Ben John, aka the Rugby Trainer, with a massive following on social media who love the awesome content he puts out. Rugby coach, content creator, YouTuber, with an Instagram tagline that says, inspiring you to pick up a rugby ball daily. Ben is leaving a coaching footprint on the world that will last a lifetime and longer. Ben John, welcome to the Coaching Culture podcast.
Yes, yeah, thanks for having me. Good intro, fair play. Great intro. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, chuffed to be on here. Really, really grateful you asked me. You've had some incredible coaches on here. So yeah, just, massive privilege to be on here, man. And you're doing so well as well. So yeah, big up to you as well. Amazing.
Ben, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have such good people on the show. And it's cool to have you because it's like we were just talking earlier about that movie Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which you haven't seen, but I have. And there's a scene in there where they're playing hologram tennis, the way of the future, coaching of the future with modern tech. And you're at the forefront of this online coaching and nailing it and getting a huge, whatever you call that, landslide of people enjoying what you do. So, mate, let's just, before we begin, how did it start? How did the Rugby Trainer start?
Lockdown. So started it, I think a lot of these, things start in lockdown there because you've got time to think. And I was a head coach of a gym at the time. So everything moved online because obviously we couldn't go to the gym. So I had a lot of spare time. And I just thought to myself, if I was a kid, I would not be doing press-ups, sit-ups in the house. I'd be playing with a rugby ball. I'd be throwing the ball around, annoying my mum and dad, maybe doing some sort of tackling drill with my brother or whatnot. So I just thought it's a cool opportunity to do some skills for kids to follow. Do this, get the ball around your back, do these passing drills, whatnot. And at the time as well, a lot of the pro players weren't training either. So I reached out to some of the Welsh lads and just said, do you want to jump on a live Zoom? Because that's what the fitness world was doing. They were jumping on Zoom and doing fitness sessions for everyone to follow. That was the obsession. So I was like, right, we can do this with rugby. Let's do it. So I did a few of those sessions with some cool people like James Hook, Lee Halfpenny. They all jumped on, which was amazing. And then had an appetite for it. So then Ospreys, my ex-team, reached out to me and said, do we want to do a collaboration with them? I had to do some lives and they just started growing from there. Yeah, lockdown 1 ended. And then obviously, I had to go back to my proper work, which was my gym setup. But then I miss doing all the skill stuff because it would have been about 4 years since I touched the proper rugby ball, doing rugby coaching because I was a personal trainer. And I just loved it. I got the buzz back, and I just thought, right, me and my wife sat down, and we were like, how do I do this full time? What should we do? We just came up with a plan on how I can virtually quit my job and just do the Rugby Trainer and just back myself. And so the word the Rugby Trainer came about because my wife is in brand, and we had a little sit down, and she said, who in the space is doing really well with the rugby stuff? And it was only one, the OG, that was the Rugby Bricks, but I always used to look at the body coach, which is Joe Wicks, because he was the audience, like a similar audience that I was looking for. I was looking for like grassroots, looking for youngsters to get them into fitness or whatnot. And he was just doing a primary school fitness regime at the time in the UK. So Joe Wicks is a UK personal trainer. He's got millions and millions of followers. So no one knew his name at the beginning. Everyone knew him as the body coach. So we were like, right, okay, we need a brand. My wife was like, well, we need a brand. We need something because no one cares who Ben John is, but they'll care who the Rugby Trainer is or the rugby coach I looked at the time, but that was taken. So we went for the Rugby Trainer. And then, yeah, from there, it's just, yeah, it's just got a lot of mistakes along the way. I had a thought of, right, I'm going to be the rugby trainer. So that means I can do some personal training, gym work, and I'll do a little bit of skills because I still had personal training clients and I still wanted to be relevant in that space. And then I realized then there was more appetite for the skills side of things because there was hundreds of personal trainers doing rugby stuff. So yeah, I moved then just purely skills as time went by. And then 2 years ago, then I went full time with the rugby trainer, which was meaning, yeah, full into it. I was just doing the rugby trainer stuff, which is a cool milestone.
Yeah, isn't it? I think it's a cool concept that you've become a professional online rugby coach there. Now, I think that's a rare thing that anybody can make a living doing something they love online through rugby. It's absolutely awesome. Now, what was your skill set like when you started this? Because it's not only the rugby stuff, you've got to learn all this online world, right? Is that you?
Yeah, the skill stuff was the easy part for me. But when I was a player, any interview I had, I was terrible. Awful at interviews. I didn't want to be there, didn't want to talk, didn't have social media. My wife or girlfriend at the time was like, Ben, get social media, you can start plugging brands and whatever. And I was like, absolute no chance I'm getting social media. And then moving into the personal training world, because there's so many personal trainers in London, I was like, right, how do I market myself? Right, I need to learn to be good online and be in front of the camera. So I invested quite a lot of money in courses. I've got a public speaking coach that's helped me talk better in front of camera. And also, right at the beginning of the rugby trainer, I had a client, Alex Priest, who's a big dog. Well, I saw him as a big dog anyway in the marketing world. And I reached out to him. I was like, oh man, I'm thinking of this thing, a social media concept of rugby trainer. Do you mind helping me? Thinking he would just give me a couple of pieces of advice. And then, yeah, he decided to help me. And he said, I'll back you. And yeah, I'm with you. So I've been with him for 5 years now, and he's massively helped me with the business side. He's involved in my online rugby academy with me. So we're both co-founders. So he's helped me with the business side. He's been a massive help for the brand and the company growing it.
What about your social media skills? How are they? Are they average or are they?
Yeah, at the beginning, they were, yeah, again, loads of trial and error. And the first thing you think about is, what's my teammates going to think? Me like doing this. But luckily at the time, I wasn't playing with the team, but like my close mates, I was thinking, God, they're going to give me some stick, yeah, if I post this. But yeah, so you have to kind of put your ego to the side and be like, right, no, I'm doing this because of these reasons. I have a reason why I'm posting this. And right at the beginning, I still have this mindset of wherever thing I post, my aim is to encourage one person to pick up a rugby ball. Everything I post. And it falls into, so a piece of content then falls into 3 categories for me. It has to be educational, has to be entertaining, and it has to be my personality to it, because that's what makes it unique for me. And then if I put, and then sometimes I post the video, a couple of days later, I'm like, nah, actually, that doesn't cover 3 spots, so I might take it down. And then over time, I learned more and more about that. I learned how to film, how to edit, what to look for to try and, because obviously social media, you've obviously seen it. It's a lot of psychology behind it as well. It's about how I can keep people's attention for X amount of time and move on. So it was a lot to learn. It was a lot to learn, which was interesting. A lot of mistakes, but yeah, like that's how you get better.
Oh, I love it, mate. There's some massive coaching points for this podcast and what you just said about putting your ego to the side. I think that's like coaching 101. It's very easy when you come into coaching to have a huge ego and get defensive and things, but you've had to learn, you've got to drop that. And I loved how you just talked about, you just narrowed it down to one person learning one thing at a time. And I think that's a lovely coaching point too, just to have a laser-like focus on just a small thing, and it keeps you locked in. But what I loved most, Benny, was adding my personality to it. And I think that in itself is is really important, to be yourself. How do you get that? How do you portray that across the camera screen? We talk about it here on this podcast around being authentically you when you're coaching in person, but what's some of the things you do online to make sure you're being you?
So through the social media element, it's just my passion for, I'm lucky I'm doing something I absolutely love, which is virtually me, rugby ball, and doing some skills virtually. I started off with just me throwing a ball at a shed. Right, hit this shed, do this, 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 and this. But it's just a passion for it. As a kid, my childhood growing up was, my dad was a cricketer, footballer. He'd take me, my brother, my sister down the park, and we would spend days, whatever, just catching tennis balls, playing, getting my ball in the hand. My teammates, after a rugby game, down the park straight away, we're playing, full contact or whatever, playing. We're always playing, always outside. That was virtually what I had as a kid. And then it seeped into the professional, just spending time on my own, working on my skills, grabbing a teammate after. So those extras, those things that I do, the individual skill side of it is something I've been passionate about since as a kid. So it shines through in the content that I show them, because I actually love what I do. I'm lucky that I get to do it. And even if one person just watched I'd still do it anyway. So even if you take it all away and I had to reset, I'd do it again anyway. Just adjust a couple of things.
Well, I love it too, because some people won't notice it, but you're 195 centimeters tall. Like, you don't normally become a skillful rugby player at 195 centimeters, right?
Yeah, 193 I am. You always got to put a couple of 2 centimeters.
Is that what you've done?
That was in the program. No, I don't know why that is, because it said 195, and I think it said like 70 kilos. I think that program did, so I was a beanpole. But I'm about 193, so I'm still 6'3". Yeah, and I was just lucky that I was tall, gangly, and had just loved the skill side of it. And as I said, it came from my habits as a kid. My dad being like, Ben, get out. We're doing some catching. We're doing some drills. And I think that's my philosophy, is to encourage people to spend just 10 minutes working on their individual skill. And I always think of it as a flywheel. So all those in my online academy. So on my online academy is for kids from the age of 10 to 15 years old. And it's all based on 10 minutes of training. I tell them that this is a flywheel. This is a part of a flywheel. So there's 3 parts of the flywheel: individual skill, team training, applying it in your team training, and then having a go in the games. And then it just works. If you take one of them out, it might work, but it won't be as effective. Your percentage of success of the skill might drop. So if you take away the team training, you do things on your own, then you try in a game, you're not exposed to trying it into your team training. So you might lose the feel of it, when to do it and whatnot. So I always feel like I like to think about that flywheel. Work on your pass, for example. Try that style of pass in your team training, get some feedback, adjust if you need to, and then try it in a game. And if you make a mistake in the game, then go back to the flywheel, try it again in individual, work on master that pass, and then you have to then do it in your team training. It has to be a little sequence there, because as you know, the skill is only as good as the decision as well. So, and that's how you learn it in games and in training, in your team training.
I love that. My habits as a kid have shaped me immensely. That's quite a powerful statement too. And I think for a lot of coaches who are coaching younger people, just the habits you put in at a young age, as you're a testament to, last a lifetime, don't they?
Yeah, and for example, if you brought a kid to me online and they were absolutely brand new, it's not about what they do in the 10 minutes. It's just going out and doing something for 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be specifically strict passing, because if I was a kid, I'd find that super boring, just doing 10 passing drills for 10 minutes, whatever. Go out, start off with, just go down the park, take your kid down the park and just do something fun for 10 minutes. I don't know, something random, tennis ball catching, have a game, one-on-one, basketball, whatever it is. So just get into the habit of 10 minutes. Right, on Monday, we go to the park for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it is. Just stick to a routine. And then over time, as they get a little bit older, that 10 minutes, then you can shape it into more specific stuff to rugby. And then it's easier then so that building the habit is the hard part. The goal of what skill you practice is the easy part to change. You can just move things into it, change, adapt it to your goal. So the habit is the hard part to build.
So that's a really good coaching practice, isn't it? You got to create the love first, right? If the love's not there from the outset, everything else is rocky ground after that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to go straight into specific rugby stuff, you and your daughter or son go to the park and reenact a memorable moment in a game. Like when I was a kid, we used to, even though I'm Welsh, we used to reenact Johnny Wilkinson's drop goal. So we were down the park, Johnny Wilkins spent 20 minutes trying to reenact his drop goal. And if I did something wrong, then my mate or my dad or whatever would just try to tell me, oh no, try this instead, or drop the ball like this. So you can still do coaching points, but you can still be fun and creative. For example, in England now, Paul Luck chipping over the top, give that a go. Have a go at catching the ball, chipping over the top, and yeah, be Henry Pollock for 10 minutes.
That's right. I think it's a beautiful phrasing. I reckon it lasts more than just through your childhood. That fun first sort of concept makes it stick. And certainly in the professional teams I've been with coaching, the funner it is, the more the skills get better, magnifies, because people are enjoying what they're doing. They're trying that little bit harder. And you often think with professional players, you don't necessarily need to do that because they're all motivated and self-regulated, all that stuff. But without question, you create an element of fun in an environment and you watch your skills and drills balloon and magnify and compound exponentially. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and fun doesn't necessarily have to. I think sometimes fun gets mistaken for just laughing, whereas fun is loads of different things. It's being creative, it's energy, bringing energy to the session. It's it's bringing variety to the session. Yeah, there's loads of different things what fun means. Being competitive. The reason why we play rugby is the competition as well, the games and whatnot. So fun doesn't necessarily mean laughing. It can mean loads of different things. The way you deliver the message to the kids or to the players
is a good one to make, Ben, because that is often something that people say we can't be all fun, but just by separating out that fun is not just laughter, it is excitement, competition, creativeness, variation. That's an important distinction to make around that word, because often fun gets thrown around sort of willy-nilly, right? But to say it's a bigger umbrella is quite an important coaching piece, right?
Yeah, I find because, yeah, you can't laugh all the time. No chance. It's a tough sport. It's a tough sport. But yes, yeah, it absolutely makes sense for sure. There's a few times I've done some post rugby. I was thinking, what can I replace it with? Because I wasn't very good at communicating how I feel. So I used to replicate. I tried to replicate, like putting my body through a little bit of pain by doing something stupid, like a big fitness event. I did like 100K and it was tough, so hard. It was very tough. We were through the Brecon Beacons. And there's a moment in that 100K where I took a little second, had a little look around, and I was on top of the Brecon Beacon mountain. There's a beautiful sun was coming through and I was like, oh, this is it. My body is fried, but this is the moment. This is class. This is my little bit of fun of this 100K grinding journey. So, and then I went on, and then afterwards, then that's all I can think about is, oh, how nice was that? How fun was that little moment there to myself? It was tough, but it's the same with rugby. It's some parts is going to be very tough, but if you can get little moments within it where you can, have a little element of fun. And again, I didn't laugh at that time. I just found a bit of gratitude for that moment. Yeah, I think it's loads of different ways on how you can portray fun.
I love that, mate. I love that immensely. I actually heard a little bit of research the other day around the way you start and finish a session disproportionately affects your whole impression of the whole session. So, for example, if you have 10 seconds of just pure fun to start and finish, the feedback of the session, if that's there, is so much higher in the scores than if you just went straight into the session, just straight into the guts with no little element of fun bookending each end. And I can see why. Like your last memory or your first memory sets the tone and the anchor point, and the last experience is like, wow. Like, and we were chatting about this when we went away on holiday, went to the resort that we went to, and we were welcomed in. They were like, oh, welcome, here's a coffee, all this stuff. We're like, oh, wow, this is incredible. And it just started the trip really well. And then when they finished, they did the same. And we're like, this is amazing. What a great holiday. And it was a rainy sort of holiday. And you're like, but just that little disproportionate, effect it had was phenomenal. So I think that's cool that you reference the fun of those different things. Now, Benny, I want to talk to you now about this question, which we asked in the show is, and your perspective is an interesting one. How do you define culture?
Yeah. Great question. Like, I'm based all online, and so that obviously that is. And I'm an individual skills coach as well, so I just work with the individual. But how I would define it is, for me, is a belonging. is a community. Those are the two big things for me that defines it, because even though online we are more connected than ever, it seems to be that we are a lot more, the loneliness has gone up. Obviously post-COVID as well, we're so used to being on our own, being on our phones, and we lose that connectivity, specifically in somewhere in London where there's so many people, but there's so many lonely people as well. And I think that's what's special about rugby, is we have that community. And I've gone from being a professional rugby player and then going into it. I moved out of rugby, and the first thing somebody said to me is, when you finish, you'll miss the team more than the playing. And I was like, okay, I get that. And then I went to a gym, and luckily the gym I moved to, the job I had, was ex-professional people in there, like sports people. And I had that culture straight away. It was absolutely amazing. Loved it. I had best 4 years going with them. And then I did the Rugby Trainer, and it was just me and a camera on a field on my own. And I did that I've done that for 5 years now. And the first 2 or 3 years, because it was lockdown as well. I've lockdown 2 or 3 in the UK. I think we had lockdown for like 2 or 3 years. It was just me and the camera, and I just missed everyone. It was a lonely place. And I did feel I lost my belonging to a team. And I said to my wife, I was like, I don't really know what to do. And she was like, oh, why don't you go back and do some, because I retired because of concussion. So I couldn't do contact. So I decided then to go and play tag rugby with a couple of my mates, a couple of the Samoan lads or Kiwi lads that are living in London. They play tag rugby. So I was like, again, somebody said to me first, oh, come and play tag rugby. And I was like, I ain't playing tag rugby. What are you talking about? But I joined and absolutely love it. Not because of the game, but because I'm catching up with my mates, having a chat with them, I feel a place of belonging. And I felt that personally for me, someone who I feel like understands it. But then looking online, looking at some of these kids and the parents that I'm coaching is, right, even though I'm an online plan, I don't want to just send you a PDF and say, hey, Ben, mate, all the best, and drop me a message. I want to create a community. And I learned a lot of this from building an online. So I built my gym's online program for COVID. And it was a 6-week little course, but it was all about community, all about encouraging people just to spend 20 minutes doing this workout every day. And I thought, that is exactly what I need to do online. I need to do online in rugby, but instead of doing press-ups or whatever, I'll do skills. So building the community online. And that's why I feel like the online space for myself has been successful, is because they don't just get a program, they actually get a support system, they get accountability, they get a community, because it gets to a point where all I got to do is spark a conversation, and then those who are in my community, even though they're all individuals, they all share their tips, their advice on different parts of the game and off the pitch as well. Parents share their advice of what they've had in certain scenarios and whatnot. So yeah, it's a cool environment. I think that is it's a long answer, but the community side is such a big part, because we are community beings. We want to be a part of something. We want to belong to something. And I think that is even more important online.
Yeah, man, I love that. We are community beings. I actually think that's amazing to remember for all coaches, because when you say that it's so many lonely people at the moment with a lot of online stuff, that your job as a coach is to make sure there's a community that's building around whatever you're doing, whether you're online or in person. And when you sort of think about that you're the leader of a community, sort of just tweaks how you're approaching the duty you're about to go into, right?
Yeah, and so what does that mean for me? It means if somebody comes into my community, it's my job to know as much about them as I can. I want to know the player's name, the parents' names, where they're from, what position they are. Have a little bit of care. Oh, how did you get off this week? Oh, what challenges did you face? Oh, why did you think like that? Why did you feel like that? So try and get as much information as I can, because the next time I speak to them, I can be like, say Ben's the dad. Hey Ben, how's it going? How's Sam? Or how's your daughter doing? Or blah blah blah. Just ask as many questions, because they feel like they've been heard, and they also feel a part of something. They feel that duty of care for me, because I genuinely really do want to care for them, because I want them to get better. Because the longer they stay in the program, the better they'll get. So my aim is to try and keep them in there by yeah, actually genuinely caring about people, which is sometimes gets overlooked on online spaces because it does take time. And a lot of my time is messaging people, yeah, it is tough sometimes, but it's also a part of my job, which is quite nice, to be fair.
Is that actually a big part of how you do it online? You make a real effort to just respond to everybody personally in a day where ChatGPT and all that stuff's hughtly prominent. You actually make that effort to reach out and connect?
Yeah, for sure. In my academy, my online academy, yeah, I'll message everyone back, give them a voice note as well, share my opinion and whatnot, and then it's a different world then on social media because I get a lot of messages, and I've got 3 or 4 different platforms, and I've got an academy, different platforms as well. So not just the Rugby Trainer, I've got the Rugby Trainers Academy as well. So there's a lot of questions on there. So I've started to integrate some AI just to get as much information as I can. But then when their information gets detailed, I'll then voice note them or message them. So I have started using a lot of AI tools to help me with the initial conversation to get as much information out as I possibly can. For example, you might give me a follow, Ben, and then I'll prompt you then with, hey Ben, why did you follow? Did you follow me because of X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And then you'll say, oh yeah, my son is struggling with his tackling. And then boom, straight away, then I can see that. And then I'll respond myself. I'll be like, right, have you done this, this, and this firstly? Have you checked my YouTube? Trying to get them to, because I don't want to just give the information straight away to them because that's the easy part. I want you to acknowledge. So I'm virtually coaching online. I'm just saying, Ben, why do you think you're making bad tackles? What's going on there? Why is your son? Ask your son if he was coaching himself. What's he doing wrong? So I would do as much as I possibly can not to give the answer because I want them to understand it better. And then if they can't come up with the answer, then I will, guide them to the answer and then give them something to help them then. That could be a YouTube video, or it could be a program, or it could just be a little bit of a tip or whatnot.
Mate, it's so fascinating with the online coaching space because a lot of what we talk on here is the in-person stuff, but you have to you're talking about getting this community, this connection over an intermediary platform is a fascinating shift for coaches. Do you think it's going to become more and more prevalent, coaching online?
So when I started in 2020, I think, 5 years ago I started, and there was only one coach that I could see that was doing the online stuff, and that was Peter Breen, Rugby Bricks. And 5 years now down the line, there's so many, which is awesome to see. And I think definitely there's definitely a scope for it. It does take a lot of time and like time of your investment of time into it. But once you get up and running, I think there's definitely a scope for it for sure. And the potential of growth is massive because you're not just reaching those in your local community, you're reaching millions and millions of rugby players worldwide. And what's quite cool is I get to see in my analytics of where people are watching my stuff. And places like India are growing massively in rugby. There's a lot of rugby growing in India, in Europe, in South America is massively growing as well. And obviously you get the South Africas as well, and obviously New Zealand, Australia, UK, France. But yeah, it's cool to see where the rugby's growing and the opportunity for your one-to-one coaching or whatnot is, it's quite cool to see.
Yeah, mate. You're at the driver's seat of where the growth in world rugby is, right? Like just on your analytics. I love it. Now, when you're talking about online, have you had any shockers or mistakes that you've made online where you've missed the coaching mark? Anything that stands out where you go, I'm not going to do that again? Or even that other coaches have made online that you'd suggest isn't the best way of doing things?
Yeah, so myself, firstly, I was just always replying to people right at the beginning and give them the answer straight away. And then I learned then to be like, right, no, I shouldn't give them the answer because they're just going to take it and probably not apply it anyway. So I want to I was trying to even though it takes a little bit more time, but trying to get them to see what the mistake is that they're doing. So kind of getting them to be their own coach virtually, because then I always found that youngsters, getting them to learn as a coach as if they were going to coach their best friend or their mum or dad or whatever. They understand, because they understand the skill then a lot better. And that's something that I do online now, is even if you are part of my academy, so all my drills are skill-based drills, like passing, tackling, whatever, that they can do on their own or with their teammate or whatever. And they would film a couple of their reps, 1 or 2 of their reps, and then they send me the video, and then I would give them analysis feedback every month. And it's exactly the same as that. That is, I try to coach them through it. I try to give them a couple of questions. So it won't be like this. It'll be it's an app called Loom, which I'll give, my face will be here and their video will be here, and I'll be talking through, and I'll give them a couple of things or a couple of questions to answer, and then they'll reply back to me with a voice note. And the way I speak to them is try to get them to see their mistake and how they would coach themselves. Be like, hey Ben, imagine this is Sam. You're looking at Sam now. How would you coach Sam to do that tackle a little bit different? What was missing from that tackle? Just voice note me, let me know, and I want to see if you can understand what I'm seeing. And then they'll give me the answer, and then I'll be like, yeah, well done, blah, blah, blah. This week, I want you to try and do what you just told Sam to do. I want you to try and do that in your training. Let's see how it goes. And yeah, drop me a message next week with your video of what you've changed, and try it in your team training session as well. Give it a go in your team training session.
And you found that that's really a powerful thing, which is, instead of just saying, do this, you're that coaching concept of getting them to be coaches on an online space is powerful, right?
Yeah, for sure. I've felt that it's helped me, and helped, obviously, allow the player to actually sit back and be like, right, I need to look at this outside of my mind. I need to look at this for what it is. I'm looking at this video with fresh eyes now, because I'm a coach's eyes. And I feel like the youngsters seem to take to that very well, because they're just so used to probably just being told, do this, do this, do this. Whereas they've actually taken a second to be, right, okay, I can see it now. I understand. And then also they get to understand what their body is doing as well, because they are actually out looking at themselves. My body's moving like that. Okay, I can control my body. I'll just try and adapt and change. And when they do adapt and change, and they film themselves doing 1 or 2 reps, then they get to understand their body a little bit more. And it's quite a nice way of doing it, but also it's making sure that they're not obsessed by filming every rep either. I always tell them, do 1 or 2 reps, and then put the camera down, and then just get on with your session, do the rest of your session, and just, as long as I see 1 or 2 reps, then we can give a little bit of feedback for that.
That's an important point, isn't it? Because in a day and age where it's so easy to film everything, you suggest don't film everything, because what does it do when you're obsessed with filming yourself the whole time?
Yeah, and also this day and age as well, everything is perfect on social media. Everything we post is perfect. Everyone's life is perfect. And kids miss the boat then of, right, how did they become perfect? How did that past become so good? It's because they made 1,000 mistakes. So people forget that that's the best way to learn, is making those mistakes. You need those mistakes. So they need to understand that it's not about having perfect reps all the time. I don't want you to send me your perfect shots. I want you to send me three minutes of your session, so I can see what you're doing well and what mistakes you're doing, so then we can adapt, and I can see them making mistakes, because that's how they're going to get better.
I'm actually intrigued about that whole concept, like put the camera down and just play and work and make mistakes. And then you almost want to take a random shot rather than the beautiful one that you've presented, right, for the social media. I think that's an important point, that you just put the camera down and just go, right?
Yeah, it is tough. It is, because obviously you would always want to send your coach a really good, look at this clip, coach. This is quite a nice little clip of me passing the ball or making a line break or whatnot. So yeah, sometimes I get like games sent to me of their highlights, and I'm like, right, okay, cool. Can you send me the whole video? And instead of watching 5 minutes of your highlights, I want to just watch 5 minutes of your game. I just want to see what you're doing away from the ball. Because if you are doing that well with the ball in your hand, right, how do we get the ball in your hand more? What are you doing without the ball in your hand? And that's something that I work on with the individual, is what are you doing off the ball? And there's 3 things I try to get them to be better at, is moving, scanning, communicating. And having that mindset of being like a Lionel Messi. If you watch him in a game, he's literally head on a swivel, walking around, communicating. So can we do that? Can we move well into position whilst communicating, while scanning and talking to players around you? And then what will happen then is you might get more touches and you might have a longer highlight wheel. So it's, how we can get them with their ball in their hand for longer. And obviously some players are 10 years old, so I wouldn't speak to them like that. But the older boys and girls, I would try to get them to be better at those key, because those are the skills that takes no talent. That plus hard work, and those are fundamental. If those are the skills that every top player has, is hard work, communication, movement, and scanning. That's what creates a very good player. And if we can nail them at a young age, plus everything else that goes with it, then they'll be a much better player when they comes to that 18-year-old.
Oh, actually, mate, I completely agree on that side of things. It's a fascinating dynamic too. Where do you see it going forward? Do you think we're going to have more online stuff, or do you reckon there's going to be a shift back to more in-person stuff, or are we through the gate now, and is it a digital world?
Yeah, obviously the digital world will grow and grow and grow, but you can't beat real contact. Like, as much as I do love the online world, it's nothing better than doing a one-to-one session. I still do one-to-one sessions in half term because I love it. It's so good having that person coaching face-to-face and having a bit of fun with it as well, seeing their progress. Because what I kind of encourage them to do is, if they are a part of my academy, once in a while, once every 6 months or whatever, come down to a session with me. I get to actually meet the person. I see the development. We all have a good session, and then I can still see their progress online as well. So it's kind of like, sometimes it's a hybrid, but obviously the players that live abroad or live away, I can't do that. But you can't beat that face to face. But I do think the space will grow, because it's still, so one of my inspiration when I first started off, because there wasn't much in rugby, is looking at other sports. And football is big on individual skills, and then the online coaching world is big. Also, you have like basketball, NFL, it's all quite big in that individual skills point of view. And I feel like rugby is now starting to adopt that individual skills coaching role, which I think is quite fascinating and interesting to see, because of the coaches it's such a complicated game. The coaches have so much to think about. Like a skill of catching, we assume everyone should be able to catch well, but it is a tough skill. Being able to catch, specifically at full pace, being able to move on and off the ball whilst having defenders in your eye, it is a tough skill. So players need to take it on themselves to work on catching skills with a teammate, or with their parents, or whatever, or with their siblings, just to up skills. So when they do come to the game, they feel so much more confident, comfortable on the ball, because it is a big part of the game. Same with passing, same with kicking. As a kid, it was usually the 10s that used to spend their time on their own. And that was the only position that would spend time doing their own individual skills. Whereas trying to encourage all positions just to get their hands on the ball as much as they can. And the more they adopt that, then the more their skill level hopefully will go up, and they'll go into their team training. Like I said, with that flywheel, they work on their individual skill. Their coach doesn't have to then spend X amount of time working on passing drills. They can do more team-based stuff. So I do think the individual coach works hand in hand with the team coach and whatnot. And I think it will grow for sure.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Rugby is such a sport. There is actually so many different little micro skills in the game. It's not just
tough.
Like you look at all the different positions, each one's got their own components, which are so different to the others, right? There's a smorgasbord to choose from. And that's probably the joy of rugby, right? It's a game for everybody. Big, tall, skinny, 193 centimetre centre, something for everybody.
Exactly.
Well, Benny, you talked about that face-to-face piece, and there's still a real important piece here, and you sense it more because you're obviously online the whole time. In terms of face-to-face experiences, who are some of the coaches that have left a mark on you as a professional player and then has led into your own coaching?
So, when I played, we had Brad Davis, defense coach. He came across, and I thought he's brilliant. Really enjoyed the way he coached. Yes, he was very, very hard at points, but then other points, then he'd bring that creativity, which I absolutely loved. He'd grab me after a session and exactly go, try this skill, or we'll have a little bit of fun. We'll play a game now, but it's a skill-based game. And that was great. But one thing that stuck with me massively is I was a 13, and obviously I know for well, there's a lot of movement going to be on me defensively, so I need to be on my toes. And just before the scrum set, I'd be standing there, be like, right, ready. And then the scrum hadn't even formed yet. And I was just there holding tension and whatnot. And after one game, he came out to me and was like, he showed me that he's like, what are you doing? What are you thinking here? And I just thought, I don't know, I'm just getting ready. I'm psyching myself up, ready to read the play and whatnot. And he was like, that takes a lot of energy, a lot of focus. And you can't do that all game. Because I was like that all game. I was like switched on all the time. And he was like, the best thing that you can try and learn is have the ability to switch on, switch off in key moments. So then you can hold your focus. So, for example, soon as the ball goes dead, switch off, turn to your teammate and just have a chat with him and just think about what's happening in front of me. What's the defense doing opposite? How are we going to break them down? Have a casual chat about it. And then soon as you're ready, learn to switch yourself back on. And he said, come up with a word, put a word on a piece of tape on your wrist, and then you can practice by looking at that word. Okay, that word means switch on, boom, get on into it. And then as you get more used to it, then you don't have to put that writing down. You can just do it in your mind. And I think that massively helped, because I watched a video about Djokovic, and they asked him, why is he one of the greatest players? And he said it's not to do with working hard, because every professional rugby player or every professional tennis player works hard. It's about how well he can stay in the moment, how long he can stay in the moment for. And if he's thinking about what he did wrong or what he did right, then he's not in the moment and he can't perform the best he possibly can with his decision and his skill, because his mind's elsewhere. So the best players, and I think that's absolutely true for rugby, the best players are the ones who can stay in the moment for the longest. And obviously that's a skill that we can learn. And I think that is what Brad was trying to tell me, is learn to be able to switch on, switch off. But when you're in the moment, be present in the moment, where I was just thinking about, right, what's going to happen now in 10 seconds time, rather than being in the moment right there, switch on, switch off, boom. And then, yeah, play was in front of me.
Love that. It's kind of a cool concept, isn't it? That like what he was teaching you there wasn't a tactical tic-tac skill. It was like a softer skill around the human aspect of things, right? So teaching you how long you can stay in the moment and just giving you little pointers, but also encouraging you to work out ways yourself, right? And just acclimatize. I actually think it's actually an important one to know about that switch on, switch off. I reckon as coaches, you see that a lot. Even the way you turn up to training, not just games, but you turn up and you switch on at a certain point before training. I certainly remember that as a player. That's an important piece, to be able to cross that white line and you become something else, a different version of yourself, because rugby requires that. You can't be this aggressive person that's trying to tackle people at the supermarket and be on edge. You've got to be able to cross the line, you switch, you cross back, you switch back. Yeah, I think is that what some really good coaches you've had were good at, those other things, not just the tic-tac?
Yeah, I found that. I used to love that side of it, because that was something that I went nowhere near. I didn't do any of the psychology side. And looking back now, I wish I probably did lean into that side a little bit more and work on that, because somebody once said to me, I can't remember who, or something I might have listened to, being like, you work really hard in the gym and you train in your body. Why not use a bit more of the thinking side of it, like the psychologist or whatnot, lean into them, because you're just training your mind, and that's super powerful. If you can get your mind sharper and more in control, then it's going to massively help your game, and even on and off the pitch as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit sometimes unsaid, the power of the mind, right? Like, and it's often you don't think I've either got it or I don't. But certainly with my own progression in life, certainly realized things like leadership. You kind of think you're either a leader or not, but that's not true. It's a skill set you can learn and improve, right? And that sort of goes to all of that stuff you're referring to.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've picked up, you've learned?
Well,
like the psychology side.
Yeah, well, that would be a big one. The leadership, I remember when I was a player, a professional player, I got asked to be captain of the team once. And I just said no. I said, I don't want to. And they said, well, why not? And I go, well, I don't want to I don't like standing up and talking in front of the room. And they're like, well, that's not kind of what leadership is. And I just thought, I don't like that. I'm not good at that. That's not me. I'm not a leader. And that's just what I thought leadership was. But as it turns out, it is a skill you can learn. And like yourself, I did public speaking training, went to Toastmasters, and it was just grew me through the roof. And then all of a sudden, I realized I can stand up now and just be myself comfortably up on stage. And you didn't have to be anything particular. You just had to be yourself. And that's where you started to grow as a leader. And certainly what I've enjoyed on that front now that you're asking is when we talk about like player empowerment in teams, I think a lot of coaches think, well, we just give the power to the player. You guys decide. The coaching piece underneath the psychology piece is you're actually facilitating, like what you do, in how they become leaders. Like, I would have loved to have someone say, "No, leadership's just this. Here's a little tip you can practice your leadership. Like in a huddle, here's a couple of words you can say, which are powerful leadership words." And when I got these little tools, they're just tools, like leadership tools. Say this at this time, and this will be the start. Do this at this time, and this will be the start. Here's an example that in a huddle, I was sort of like, I don't really know what to say here. And one of the coaches I chatted to just said, just start with trust. Hey, boys or girls, just trust the process, trust the system. That's all we need to do. And you'll find that the whole group will go, okay, cool, yeah. You don't have to point out individual things and every little nitty gritty. Just a simple phrase like trust the system, trust yourself, trust what you do, trust your mate. And then people just go, yeah, I can do that. And they do it. And then it's a leadership thing, but it's just a simple little tool. And it's that sort of psychology, which I think that I've really grown a lot from, is that this stuff is all skills and tools you can learn. And I didn't always think that at all.
Yeah.
Now I do it. Are you the same on that front?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, specifically like the talking in front of people, because I found out the first 2 years of doing the Rugby Trainer is literally just me and a camera, and I'm speaking to a phone. I don't really understand who I'm talking to. And then, yeah, after lockdown, I came out with loads of followers and whatnot, and I had to do a few talks, and I just froze up to start with because I wasn't used to speaking to people. Because I didn't really do it as a professional rugby player because I wasn't good at that. And then I was like, oh no, I'm in an R all the time. And yeah, I found it tough. So that's why I signed up to Charlotte, who helped me with the public speaking, exactly the same as you, just to learn the ins and outs of what to do and just to be confident in speaking. Yeah, so I found it quite daunting to start with. Like this, when you messaged me with this, I was like, oh gosh, I'm pretty nervous with this now. Because I haven't got a ball in my hand or anything. It's funny. I'm indoors.
What do I do with my hands now?
Yeah. I saw you got a pen.
This is actually something I quite enjoyed, just having the pen there, because I find for myself, and if you ever watch me coach or talk in a meeting, I often have a big book, and I just have it with me because if there's something in my head, I write it down because my head goes in all sorts of different directions and I will forget it. So it's just a little tool that I've had that helps. But a really cool one that Sam Vesti at Northampton Saints said to me around this stuff, which I think is exactly what we're talking about, is he said that a lot of coaches will say things like, our players need to communicate more. They've got to get better at talking and communicating, as an example, standing up and being able to talk. But then he went a step further and said, well, that's my job as a coach. Like, a lot of coaches will just say, the players don't talk. But where in your session are you actually given that opportunity and guiding and coaching people how to be better talkers? And he used his team meetings as the opportunity to do that. So instead of him just getting out talking, he would use that as, I want the players to talk more. So in these sessions, the whole point is them to talk. And so he'd cue people up, he'd he'd do those things. So he was actually giving them the tools, and I want you to use this phrase, and I want you to have this tone, and he'd make a really soft place for that to happen. And the more he could get them talking, the better they're going to talk on the field. And he actually said, the better they can connect with each other, the more easy it will be to talk in front of people. And so that was part of his communication as well, was getting the connections better. And I just think that's a lovely concept around, when you're in an environment, it's not just the on-field stuff, but it's the bigger piece stuff, the connection, the leadership, the talking. And you've got to put time and effort into those as well, as much as any drill and skill.
Yeah, as you said, those softer skills, they go a long way, and it comes into that place of the community and the belonging of the team, isn't it? You feel like you've been heard, you feel like you can speak your mind. Yeah, and that goes not just the players, it goes for some of the staff members as well. And you're all syncing up as a team, aren't you? And that's something I try to encourage in my online platform, even though the players don't know each other and not in the same team, is I do a webinar once a month, and we do try to talk on topics that aren't skills focused. We'll talk about how to build confidence in a tackle, how to, what was our last one? The last one was how to get yourself prepared for a big game. Things like that, where I just get people to, and what was quite cool is afterwards, one of the dads messaged me and said it was really cool to hear some of the younger players talking about an issue that their son had, but he'd never heard any of his teammates talk about it. So it was nice to know that his issue before a big game is replicated from someone else, but they just don't talk about it. So it's quite cool for them to hear that from another mouth, which is, like you said, trying to encourage them to talk and share. And then you get that synergy of, oh yeah, I feel like that as well. Okay, cool. And it's not just me.
A problem shared is a problem halved, is the old phrase that goes. But that's a very good point. That's a very good point though, Ben. Like, just by providing that platform, which you do, you're actually creating this community where it compounds the belonging by the little things which pop up amongst it, right? Like these little things like that. It's such a valuable resource what you're doing there.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love it. It's just so cool to have. And somebody asked me, what's my goal with it all? And it's hard to say because I don't really know, because it's unknown territory with the online space. But I just said to them, my goal would be in 20 years' time, someone comes up to me, a kid or an adult at the time, and be like, oh, you're the guy who helped me 20 years ago. Yeah. Rugby, thanks you ever so much. As long as I get that, I'd be so chuffed. That'd be amazing to have. So that's my goal. In 20 years, somebody tap me on the shoulder and be like, "Hey, cheers, man, you helped me." Something like it's the same type of mentality of your PE teacher in school. Like that PE teacher that I can still remember my PE teacher. What he told me, always be in the try scorer's photo. And I was like, at the time, I was like, what are you talking about, sir? I don't understand. And what he meant is support the ball player all the time, support the ball player. And one of my strengths in the game was anyone who made a line break, I was on their shoulder. And I picked up so many little tries just by trying to be in the try scorer's photo all the time. And I always think back to that and be like, yeah, you obviously helped me massively. Obviously not just that saying, but yeah, just trying to push us. And hopefully that will be something in 20 years' time, the same type of thing with some of the players I'm coaching.
And what would you give a piece of advice to any coach that's looking to sort of maybe not necessarily go full-time into online coaching, but just dabble in online coaching with their teams? What's a big piece of advice that you'd say to them?
So firstly, I would say the good thing that's helped me with rugby is the ability to be ruthlessly consistent. We all want to grow our business or grow our companies in a month's time. But I set myself a goal, right, I'm going to do this now for the next 5 years. I'm just going to chip away at it. Yeah, it's the saying, we overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but underestimate what we can do in 10 years. And I love that saying, because if you just consistently show up, even if it's once a week online, show up once a week online and do that time and time again, majority of people would drop off after a month. But can you do it for a year? Start for the year, show up for a year, just be online, show up with intent. Those 3 things that I said at the beginning: inspire, educate, and personality. And do that online and be consistent with it for 1 year. And along the way, learn, watch what people are doing, find out what is working, and then apply it to yourself. Give it a go, try it out, and then be consistent with it. And you'll be blown. Like I asked you before this, it must be 2 years that you've been doing this. You said it's only a year, like how much you've grown in a year. So imagine now doing that in 5 years' time, where you could be. So it's just mad, isn't it? It's just like, just tick away. Yeah, 1 week after another, and see where you get to.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff in life about that. Just the amount of consistency or persistency you show is just incredible. Yeah. Ruthlessly consistent. Love that. Now, Ben, the last question today, which I'd like to ask you, is what is one belief that you have about rugby or coaching that you believe in, that you reckon a lot of your contemporaries would disagree with?
Yeah, so because I'll go more towards the social media side. Some of my social media posts are trick shots, and I would do some sort of trick shot that you'll never see in a rugby game. And I say to the audience, right, grab a rugby ball and give this a go. And I get loads of messages from whether they're some coaches as well, coaches, parents, people, adults saying, don't do this, this is pointless. You won't see this in a rugby game. Obviously, I get a lot of positives as well. Be like, yeah, I'll try that out. But there's a big reason why I do that. And I don't do it all the time. I'll do it once a month, maybe. So there's three main reasons why I do that. And the first one is business reasons. For social media, trick shots are a good way to showcase my platform, because it gets to more people, because it's not just rugby audience. It's people in football world or whatever. They see my trick shots, and it gets more audience to my platform. So it's social media, firstly, to get more eyes on my platform, because it's something fun and exciting to do. The second one then is, this could encourage not just rugby players, but as I said, footballers, different sports, to be like, I can give that a go, I'm going to try that out. So then they grab a rugby ball, they get outside, which is my main focus, is can I inspire people to pick up a rugby ball? And all of a sudden then they get outside and they might do something else. They might just be like, oh, I've got a rugby ball in my hand now. Oh, I'm not just going to try that trick shot, I'm going to try something else, and spend a little bit more time. So it encourages people to get outside and pick up a rugby ball, and they might virtually go into something else. Because once you're outside, then yeah, you tend to spend more time outside. And then the third one then is understanding that to be able to do this skill, you have to learn to do it. Learning is a skill itself. You have to fail, adjust, and then as you go on. So you actually learn to be better at learning. And then you understand that mechanics then, and then you can chuck in, you can change the skill. So for example, Ben, you try doing the skill, you've done all that, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden then you get it right. Oh, amazing. Well done. And then you come to me then, and I see you do that. And then we're doing the same thing on tackle technique. And then you can't get it right. And then you quit. And I'm like, wait a second, you didn't quit when you did that trick over there, whatever. Just use the same formula. You try. It might take a little bit longer because it's a more technical skill, but it's the same concept. So they learn to be a little bit better at learning, even if it's a small little fraction of it. It's still the same concept. Yeah, that's why I do it, really.
The trick shots are the magic for growth.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It's just, it's trying to get people to get their ball in their hand, isn't it? And you never know, because it's mad, isn't it? To think when we were kids, punishment was, Ben, get inside.
Yeah.
Whereas now it seems to be the opposite. The punishment is now get off that iPad, get outside. I ain't going out there, it's raining. Whereas when we were kids, it was like, I ain't going inside, no chance.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's mad. So how's it going in Australia with the social media ban? What's that like with your kids?
Irrelevant. It's like not an issue at all. Like it's a good thing. I think the general consensus is it's a good thing. And I think it is. It just puts a little bit of authority to it. Like we as humans generally probably follow the rules inherently. And when there's a rule, you sort of stick to it and you feel bad, naughty and all that stuff. I think it's a good thing. I haven't seen the flow-on effect, but certainly in our house, the kids haven't grumbled or anything at all. It's just life as usual. But it's a fascinating moral choice, and Australia's gone that way, and I think probably leading the way, and time will tell whether it's a good thing or not. But I tend to agree with that. Yeah, I like the idea. I think the UK is starting to talk about it, so it's starting to people are starting to look at Australia and try to replicate it. I know France are talking about it as well. So that's something I've obviously kept an eye on over the last few, because obviously a lot of my content is started off with trying to encourage the kid, whereas now I'm tending towards going and moving towards talking to the parents. And I'm talking to the parents now, because obviously I'm thinking ahead of what could be with the social media banning side of it. So yeah, even things like that, I'm trying to adjust and trying to stay ahead, looking to see what's coming up. So trying to learn. Isn't it funny how these little shifts and policy shifts, and likewise like laws and rugby, like one little tweak here, it has this compounding, waterfalling effect to a whole lot of people in different areas. And you being the main one where this is your professional online coach, and then a lot of your audience in Australia now aren't able to actually watch that stuff online. It's incredible, the chain of events which happen.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Ben, John, if I may, I'd just like to sum up my 3 key takeaways from this awesome conversation today, and a really different conversation too, about a medium which is growing and will continue to grow. And they are these. Number one, this concept that fun is often mistaken just for laughter. And you pointed out that it's more than that. And it's a variety of things, from competition to creativeness to gratitude to variation. And I think it's a really cool concept, just redefining fun and what its association is and the importance of it. I just love that, because I've heard it sort of bandied about in a negative way sometimes. Number two is this: we are community beings. I love that phrase around some of your definition of culture. And I actually love it that your job as a coach is to make sure that community is always there, continually building and growing the community, whether it's online or in person. And that's a duty of care for the coach and the leader to do. And number three is this concept that you talked about, is getting players to be their own coach by them thinking about a drill or a skill as if they're coaching someone else is a really lovely way to understand better. It helps them just take it away from the self and put it to someone else. And when you get someone to be a coach, the learning is better. And you said later in the show, learn to get better at learning. And I think by making players think like a coach, they are definitely doing that. Ben, John, what an absolute pleasure to be on the Coaching Culture podcast this weekend. If you want to know more about Ben, the Rugby Trainer Academy.com is where you'll find him. But honestly, you just type in great rugby stuff and it'll come up across all platforms on social media, unless you're under 16 years of old in Australia, in which you won't be able to access those. What a pleasure, Ben, to have you on the podcast.
Thanks ever so much. Loved it. Enjoyed it. So yeah, thank you for inviting me again. Yeah, really honoured to be on here, man.